Frank Costello didn't rule the streets. He didn't need to. His power wasn't measured in territory or body counts, but in the quiet sway he held over the men who did the dirty work. He ruled the men who ruled the streets. In a world where violence was currency, Costello traded in something far more valuable: loyalty, trust, and the art of persuasion. Picture New York, 1920s and 30s. The city's alive with jazz, bootleg liquor, and headlines that bleed. The air is thick with ambition and danger, every alleyway echoing with secrets and deals made in the shadows. Most bosses made their mark with gunfire. Costello? He moved through the shadows, almost invisible, never needing a gun, because words were his weapon. He understood that true power didn't come from fear alone, but from respect and subtle influence. While Capone and Luciano grabbed the spotlight with bullets, Costello played the long game. He watched, he listened, and he waited for the perfect moment to act, always 2 steps ahead, always in control. He'd walk into a room and you'd want to listen, even if you didn't know why. Some called it charm, others called it an uncanny ability to read people, to know exactly what they wanted or feared before they did. Others called it strategy. I call it power, quiet, calculated, and absolute. Costello's presence was magnetic, his words carefully chosen, his silences even more telling. He wasn't feared for what he did. He was feared for what he could make happen, for the possibilities he represented, for the invisible strings he pulled behind the scenes. He was respected for what he could make happen. In Costello's world, a nod or a handshake could change the fate of a business, a politician, or an entire city block. A favor here, a phone call there, a debt quietly collected or a future quietly promised. His influence was a currency that never lost value, and everyone wanted a piece. Maybe you'd get a license you didn't deserve, or a judge would see things your way. Maybe a problem disappeared before you even knew it existed. Costello's reach was long and his touch was light but unmistakable. Costello didn't even need to threaten you. You just understood. That's power through perception. He made you believe that your fate was in his hands, and that was enough. His genius wasn't just in what he said, but what he didn't say. The unspoken promises, the silent warnings, the way he could make a room go quiet with a single look. He wore the mask of a businessman, tailored suits and gentle smiles. He played the role of the gentleman, the civic leader. To the public, he was a philanthropist, a man who gave back to the city he loved. But behind that mask, racketeering, illegal gambling, and a spiderweb of political deals. Every handshake was a transaction, every smile a negotiation. Newspapers called him the Prime Minister of the Underworld. He liked the sound of that. It fit the image he'd so carefully crafted, a leader above the fray, untouchable and indispensable. With Tammany Hall in his pocket, Costello's reach went beyond the mob. He was a kingmaker, a silent partner in the city's most powerful rooms. He whispered in the ears of politicians, bought influence in the courts, and steered city policy from the comfort of a private booth. His advice was sought after, his approval a golden ticket. Judges, cops, city contracts, nothing moved unless Costello led it. He was the silent force behind the city's biggest decisions, the man who could make or break a career with a single word. Influence, bought and paid for. But it wasn't just about money. It was about knowing who to trust and who to own. Now picture this: Capone, famous for fear, gunned down, locked up, remembered for chaos. Costello, famous for suggestion. He survived the storms that took down his rivals, outlasted the violence, and thrived in the aftermath. He survived where others fell. He didn't just avoid bullets, he made sure they were never fired in the first place. Not because he was invisible, but because he never looked like a threat. He seemed legitimate. He blended in with the city's elite, always just another face in the crowd, until you realized he was the one pulling the strings. That was his true weapon. Not fear, not violence, belief. The belief that he could make or break you, that he was always watching, always listening. Frank Costello, the man who ruled without a trigger. He proved that sometimes the most dangerous man in the room is the one who never raises his voice. Learn how perception becomes power. In the world of Frank Costello, it wasn't about being the loudest or the most violent. It was about being the smartest, the most patient, and the most persuasive. Subscribe for more stories of strategic influence, where the real power is never what it seems.